The public is calling on government to step in to stop the rising fuel costs. Another hike is expected in April. Some economists say the fuel levy must be suspended to relieve the pressure. For more on this discussion, for more discussion on what government can do, I'm joined by Mineral Resources Department's Deputy Director General Tseliso Maqubela. Mr. Maqubela, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. We're set for record-breaking prices, by April. And, many say it's counterproductive to look back. But would you say some perhaps are justified in saying we are today exploring all other alternatives because of government's poor decisions, like the sale of strategic reserves? 10 million barrels of oil that we lost. And these could actually cushion us now. Would it be justified for some to say we're in this position because of poor decisions?
All right. No, thank you very much, Mfundo. Good afternoon to you and the viewers of eNCA. Thanks for having us. Firstly, I need to deal with the issue of the strategic stocks of 10 million barrels that were sold. I want to indicate that we have all of that 10 million back within government control. So it would not be fair to raise that as an issue. Because we went to court and court declared that that sale was illegal and we're able to get all of that 10 million barrels back. But I want to deal with the issue that we're facing now. We're really facing the challenge now because of three issues really. The biggest being the Russia-Ukraine situation. The second one being the fact that OPEC has not been producing as much as they should, crude oil. So the price has been rising and rising. Then the third issue is that, I think all the oil producers were caught napping by the post-COVID demand for crude oil. So those three factors have then supported the high prices that we're seeing. And it is going to have, unfortunately, an impact on all countries equally. Some countries have taken certain decisions because their fiscus is able to do that. But I think in as far as the suspension that is proposed, Treasury, National Treasury would be better placed to deal with the issue of levies and so on.
But you went to present possible mitigation measures to counter the impact of the hikes before Parliament. Perhaps you can take us through those, and if perhaps the strategic release is one of many for some, where there could be the release of those strategic oils.
Okay, so we've been having meetings with the two ministers, the Minister of Finance and Minister Mantashe, Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy. And we've been tasked by the two ministers to look at what the options are. And unfortunately now we cannot, go into detail on some of the, the proposals that we will be putting to our principals. However, what we need to indicate is that the issue that you are raising of the use of strategic stocks is an issue under consideration, definitely, as to how then do we do that in order to be able to cushion consumers. I think we are still working on the modalities. However, it is, yes, sorry.
You can continue.
Yeah, I think it is fairly late in the month now. So we're working under extreme pressure to make sure that we can at least present some options and decisions can be taken. As things stand right now, I think we're looking at really high prices, particularly because diesel is in short supply globally. This
release of strategic reserves has become quite topical because we're hearing of other countries, the likes of Joe Biden and 30 others that are looking to release. So I think most citizens have become quite interested in this, but it's interesting or comforting at the very least, to hear that it is under consideration. But then beyond this, we understand there's also possibility of fuel rationing. How would that work? There's also the exploration around biofuels. Just talk to us a little bit about this.
Okay, all right. But what we then said is that if the war continues beyond April, I think globally we'll be facing fuel challenges, major fuel challenges. So we then began to look at what would we do if we get to that situation. So the issue of rationing, we brought it as an option because we then said if we get to that situation, we can't continue pumping petrol or diesel to consumers normally. There must be equal misery to everyone. We hope we won't get to that. We really are hoping that diplomatic efforts will end this conflict earlier. But as we can see, our hopes are really becoming dimmer and dimmer because the oil price is trending up, meaning that the market doesn't believe that a solution is in sight currently. But also then we said it is high time now that we look at biofuels as a country, particularly looking at the sugar industry that is under distress, maybe start producing ethanol from biofuels and then blend that to the petrol stocks. So those are some of the options. But the other one, we then said, we've had the practice of people working from home during the various lockdown periods. And we're saying for those companies whose workers can be able to be productive, whilst working from home, perhaps it is time to start looking at that as an option. Because if things go the way they're going, we are going to have to, put measures in place to protect the economy.
No, this is clearly a very difficult period because many have now moved back to work because of the limited productivity. The world was now opening up, but I suppose a suggestion such as that one to sort of limit the impact of these fuel hikes could possibly be one that some employers consider. But on the biofuels, what has been the delay?
The delay mainly on biofuels is subsidy. We believe that we need to consider that. What happened is when we were about to finalize the biofuels framework, there was a collapse of the crude oil price. And then it became uneconomical to produce biofuels. Now the price has suddenly shot up, and it is, the right time now to produce biofuels. But we need to subsidize it the same way that I believe there was a feed-in tariff for the renewable energy program. So we need to look at that fairly urgently now.
All right. Mr. Maqubela, thank you very much for your time. That is Tseliso Maqubela, Department's Deputy Director General.